Hi, my name is Laura Wilson, and I'm an attorney coach with barcoach.com. And today I'm going to help you with the MBE portion of the bar exam. And I'm going to give you some excellent tips to help you on the actual day that you take the exam. So the first thing that I would tell you, first thing in the morning of the day of the exam, what I would recommend that you do is you sit down and you do about 10 questions. But I don't want you to correct them. Let me say that again. Do about 10 questions, but don't correct them. It doesn't matter whether you get them wrong or right. What matters is that you get your mind moving and you get your mind thinking. If you just walk in, I want you to understand, students get most of the questions wrong the first 10 and the last 10. They get the first 10 wrong because they're not ready to think yet. They're not prepared. They just sit down and start doing questions cold. Don't do that. How you want to start is you want to start your day in the morning in your hotel room or sitting outside the room, whatever. You can rip out a few questions out of whoever's MBE questions you are using. Rip out a few questions and do about 10 questions, or maybe 6, 1 in each subject, just to get your mind moving, okay? That's the first tip. Do about 6 to 10 questions before you even sit down to take the exam. My biggest tip, and it's a secret that I want to share with you, is this. Okay? What's that? That's 10 pencils. My big tip is use one pencil for every 10 questions. Every 10 questions, set a pencil aside. Make them incredibly sharp, and it serves a couple of purposes, and let me explain that to you. First of all, the sharper the pencil, the more difficult it is to erase, because I don't want you to erase your answers. Remember, your instincts are right. Once you get to the point where you're taking the bar exam, once you've made a selection on an answer to a question, mark it, select it, and move forward. I don't want you to be able to erase. And if you erase a question, remember, the scantrons are incredibly sensitive. If you can't erase it really well, it may think that you've selected 2 answers and you're automatically going to get it wrong anyway. And I would also say to be really consciously aware of where your bubbles are. I was in bar review for 6 years. I've been coaching students to the bar exam for 6 years. I would hear horror stories of students who would get down to question number 89 or 99 or wherever, only to come to the horrifying realization that they're a question ahead, because what they did was they didn't know an answer to a question and they decided to save it for later. But when they saved it for later, they marked it in the wrong box, and then they ended up being off on their bubbles. I don't want to see you be a person who gets off on their bubbles. You get off on your bubbles, you're coming back next time. So don't let that happen to you. I've heard of bar reviews telling students, if you can't get the answer to the question, skip it and move on. I say never save a question for later, and I have great reasons for that. When you save questions for later, mentally you cannot stay focused on what's in front of you because you're thinking about what you have to go back to. You're still thinking about the questions that you've missed. You have got to get centered in one particular question, zoned out on that particular question, and only that question. So if you've saved questions to go back to, mentally, you're not really able and capable to move forward in a very, very specific, conscious way. So no saving questions for later. You make a selection and you move forward, okay? Super important. Plus, you don't want to risk the opportunity, or you don't want to risk getting off on your bubbles. Can you imagine what a nightmare that would be? So my biggest tips are, number 1, do a few questions prior to actually sitting down to take the exam to get your mind moving. Use 10 pencils. 10 pencils because very sharp ones you won't be able to erase, and you'll be able to fill in the bubbles much quicker. You can actually save about 3 to 4 minutes on an exam by being able to fill in the bubbles much quicker with a really sharp pencil. And the next tip is to make sure you select a choice. You don't save questions for later. Huge mistake. Another great tip is, if you find that you're running low on time, either a contracts question or maybe a property question that's really difficult, if you come up against a really difficult one or a very long one, I would tell you to guess at it and move forward. You can't do that on a lot of questions, obviously, but you can do it on maybe 5 questions per sitting and comfortably be able to do that and move forward. Because when you waste time, remember, 1.8 minutes per question. 1.8 minutes per question. If you're doing a full page contracts question or a full page property question that's going to take you 5 minutes, then you're just getting even further behind. So again, only if you're running behind on time do I want you to guess and move forward. All right? So guess and move forward if you have to. There's a lot of great tips that I have for the bar exam. Again, I've been coaching students for the bar exam for 6 years. It's a job that I love. I worked for a large bar review company for 6 years, and all I did, 60% of my time, was spent doing nothing but talking to students about strategies, techniques, and approaches, what to do, how to study. I would get the phone calls. For example, a lot of students called that had not been successful, and I would get students on the phone who were really in tears. And I would have long conversations with these students, and my coworkers would say to me, "Laura, you should be a motivational speaker. You're in the wrong business." And the truth is I'm in the right business. I'm in the right business because I'm passionate about helping students the bar exam. I love what I do. I would go home every single day and feel like I had been of service, and it was just the job that filled me up so much. And that's why I'm with barcoach.com now, because now I'm able to really focus on doing nothing but coaching students for the bar exam. I don't have to travel anymore. I don't have to put on seminars, and this makes it much more focused to me to do exactly what I'm passionate about, and that is helping students pass the bar exam, helping you stay motivated, positive, and focused on what's important and how to do well on the bar exam. You already know all the answers, and that's really important for you to know. I want you to remember that if you need any help or want to talk to me, you're welcome to call me, or you can email me at laura@barcoach.com. I wish you the best of luck on the exam, and you will ace the MBE portion of the bar exam. I know you will. Thanks. Bar Coach. Believe and achieve results. barcoach.com.